Welcome back to LA Blockchain Summit. It's great to be here. I'm a new face around here. I'm Matthew Le Merle with Fifth Era, but I've also been invited to be part of the team at the Blockchain Venture Studios and with Draper Goren Holm, where I'm an investor. So it's very exciting to be with you today. And with Alon's agreement, we actually sat Josef down in a chair alongside Tim Draper and Sid Mofya. I'll introduce all three of them in just a second. And what we're going to do for the next 20-minute segment is we're going to talk about the launch of our new book, The Intelligent Investor Silicon Valley. It's available everywhere. And I'm going to give you a little bit of background to why we wrote it. I'll introduce the three folks who are featured in it amongst 50 other people. And then I'm going to ask them some questions, and they're going to share their wisdom and advice to all of you. And really, this is about trying to give you some thought starters for how you can be a better entrepreneur and a more successful blockchain startup leader. So that's what we're going to do. So with no further ado, let me explain. The Intelligent Investor is the world's most famous book for investors. It was written 70 years ago by Benjamin Graham, and Warren Buffett says there's never been a better book. The problem is, it only has one page on technology investing in 700 pages, and that page is at the back of Appendix 7. And we know that the world's most valuable companies, 9 out of 10 of them, and most of the wealth created in the last 10 years has been created by technology entrepreneurs just like you. And so that book just doesn't fit for us and what we do, what you do, what we do as investors. And so we collected together 50 of the world's Silicon Valley's leading venture capitalists and angels, and we got them to share their wisdom in the pages of this book, The Intelligent Investor Silicon Valley. 3 of those people are here today. Tim Draper, of course, who really doesn't need any introduction, but is the leader of the Draper Network of funds globally, and is a very active participant here at LA Blockchain Summit and Draper Goren Holm. The second is Josef, who is our fearless co-leader with Elon and doesn't normally present, but is going to have to today. And thirdly, we're very lucky to have Sid Mofya, who runs the global collaboration, alliances, and partnerships for the Draper Network. So that's the lineup. And the first question, I just want to go down the line, starting with you, Tim. We ask you in the question, what do you love most about what you're doing right now? Can you share us your thoughts?
Well, terrific. I've never thought of myself as an intelligent investor. I've sort of thought of myself as a risk-seeking, innovative investor who kind of goes after what he projects to be something great. So what I'm always looking for is this entrepreneur, if this entrepreneur is successful, what does the world look like down the line? And that's my biggest thing. A lot of investors are very good at telling me all the things that are wrong with an investment. But all I really care about is, what if it works? How great will that be? And if it's not great enough, then I'm not interested. And so that's where it's really the most out there investments that I get most excited about. And turns out, you lose, as a seed investor, you lose about half the investments anyway. You might as well really be swinging for the fences, because the other half, how big they get, really matters. And so I'm looking for those really extraordinary entrepreneurs out there who are trying to do something really great with their life, and I'm looking to the long-term outcome. And my projection is 15 years. I'm saying, what will this look like in 15 years? And how great will that be if you succeed? So as an entrepreneur, I want you to start thinking, is this big enough? Does this matter enough for me? Do I want to be doing this 15 years from now? And if the answer is no, you don't want to be doing this 15 years from now, then change the model, change the business, make it something really extraordinary, and then we'll back you.
That's great, Tim, and thank you very much for that. Josef, we know you're in the middle of the most stressful time of the year for you, but answer the same question. What do you find so exciting about what you're doing now?
Yeah, what I found most exciting about what we do, and this is very aligned with how Tim sees things, obviously, is that we're on the cutting edge of technology with blockchain and fintech and now DeFi. We're really creating the rails for a new financial system, for a new banking system, for so many things that are broken in our day-to-day lives, to improve them, to give great more access to people. We have 1.7 billion unbanked and billions of more underbanked people around the world. So what I really get excited about is when I meet awesome entrepreneurs, and that's really what we're looking for. We're looking for great teams with amazing ideas, who, and I know this is an overused kind of thing to say, but who want to make the world a better place and really change things up and create new systems that work fair and easily accessible for everyone. And that's pretty much what we do every day at Draper Goren Holm. I mean, my day pretty much consists of finding the next gem in the raw and help these teams by funding them and scaling them and getting them to the next level.
Thanks, Joseph. Sid, obviously you play a slightly different role. You facilitate the Draper Network globally, but what's fun for you every day when you wake up?
Yeah, for me, I'm a facilitator and connector by nature. So being a part of this global network of more than 20 funds, 1,000 companies around the world means, number one, I'm never the smartest person in the room, which is great. And number two, I'm always working with the smart people that are making change in the world and seeing connections between what one smart person is doing and another smart person in another part of the world, and making that connection. And that gives me a ton of satisfaction.
Thanks a lot. So part of the reason we created this book team is that there's an awful lot of books that one person shares their wisdom in. We wanted to get 50 of the best of people like you, venture capitalists, angel investors, incubator leaders, accelerator leaders, all in the covers of one book. So it's 50 people's wisdom in one book. And one of the most important themes is, how do we help the entrepreneurs succeed? So Tim, I want to go back to you. You wrote some really interesting things in your submission about what you believe are the most important traits for a technology entrepreneur, and I'm hoping you could share those.
So I think the most important trait, the one that really drives great success, is a love for the customer, because if the entrepreneur is always focused on that customer, eventually they become successful. And interestingly, 3 of my top greatest investments came from entrepreneurs who, when they pitched me, said, I want to delight my customer. And so having that customer bias is really important. But you also need really great technology. You have to be going after a really interesting market. But I think that's one of the things that really drives great entrepreneurship is once you get past the idea that, hey, I've got something new and it's going to really disrupt this business or transform this business, and then I can build and build and build and become a big industry. Having that customer bias is very important in growing the business, and just keep iterating and improving as time goes on, because technologies move. The other thing is to make the customer so delighted that they become your sales force, so that you don't have to even sell the thing, because your customers are going around saying, oh God, have you seen this? This is so great. And that was the whole impetus for Hotmail and how it spread to 11 million users in 18 months. And that was the concept behind Skype, how it grew like a weed. It all had to do with having the customer say, this is great, I want my friends on it, let's get them on it.
And I agree, it sounds straightforward, but you'd be surprised how many entrepreneurs get so wedded in their technology that they lose sight of that, such an important point. And I know I used to work a lot with Steve Jobs, and that's exactly what he would say too. So it's a great point, Bill. Joseph,
Tim.
Sorry, Tim.
Bill's my dad.
No.
Sometimes people call me Dad. They call me Bill, and I think, oh, hey.
No,
I feel
Tim,
pretty good about
the
that.
reason for that was because in the next question I was going to mention that I used to spend time with your dad, and I haven't mentioned that before, and that's why Bill and Tim got interchanged.
It's always somebody thinking of my dad when they do it, and I honor that. My dad is so awesome.
Yeah, I'll come back to that in a minute. Sorry about that. But Joseph, you also wrote about what you think are the most valuable traits of a tech entrepreneur. Can you share some thoughts?
Yeah, sure. What I would add here is something that I've experienced myself. I was a tech entrepreneur for almost 25 years before I became an investor, and I know what it's like to you know, do a few all-nighters and write a business plan and have this whole like idea thought out, and you start presenting it to people and you go pitch to investors, and all of a sudden they don't like what you tell them, and instead of trying to listen to the feedback that you're getting and to be able and willing to pivot and to improve, you start looking for people who agree with you. So I think what's really important is to take the feedback that entrepreneurs get when they pitch to investors or potential customers. They'll always tell you the truth. Take that feedback very, very seriously, and be ready to pivot and adjust your idea to make it better and ready for a market.
You're muted.
Yes, exactly. Sid, is there anything you want to build on Joseph and Tim's answers?
Yeah, I'd like to mention actually something that Tim mentions quite a lot, and I don't know if you actually wrote it in the book as well, which is that passion that the entrepreneur needs to have, because this is a long game and they need to be resilient and be able to survive for a long time. And if they don't have the passion coming from their core, then the chances of success are not very high. And Tim talks about looking in the entrepreneur's eyeballs and trying to see that passion in there. And if it's not there, then maybe we should make the investment.
Thanks, Sid. And thanks for that call out. Tim's got a great book that's also available everywhere, but
Here it is.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not going to let you take over this 20-minute segment, but it's a great book.
Startup Hero by Tim.
Exactly.
It's on Amazon.
So back to your father. So
and actually, I think it was at the last LA blockchain conference that they said, "Okay, I'm having a book signing," and I signed 800 books.
Yes.
I signed for 5 hours. It was great fun though, because I got to meet so many people and thrive on it. And
we literally had people line up for 2.5 hours to get their book signed with him. It was wrapped around the expo floor twice. It was an amazing sight. It was a lot of fun. You were a champ that day, Tim. I mean, you just wouldn't stop signing books. 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours in, you were just like signing away. It was amazing.
I just hope they all read it.
Yeah. So when Joseph first said I should do the same, I started practicing. But the problem is, of course, we're virtual. But Tim, back to you and also to your father and the legacy. I mean, I did meet him seriously a long time ago in the 1980s. I'm dating myself. And he's one of those original Silicon Valley VCs back in the days of the Fairchild Semiconductors and the founding of HP and Intel and so on. And here we are in 2020. And Silicon Valley is a different place, and it's also a special place. So Tim, just share with us, and you wrote it in the book, what's so special about Silicon Valley?
Well, it's really fun because I was able to start, my grandfather was the first Silicon Valley venture capitalist, and my dad was a great pioneer of venture capital. And I got to see as the Silicon Valley went through this transformation from this, a very agrarian area with where there were apricot groves and pine and prune ridges and whatever, to this thriving business environment where suddenly we're the kind of the envy of the world. And I got to thinking, well, what was it that made that happen? And I think it had to do with a spirit of a can-do spirit, where there was great technology coming out of Stanford and Berkeley and other great schools around here, now Draper University. Great technologies coming out of that. Great business minds coming out of Stanford Business School. And a feeling that people could work a little bit on their own. There was this moonlighting that was just started with the Hewlett-Packard employees. They allowed people to moonlight. And that was the beginning. And people started to think, how can I do this better than it's being done today? And then that attitude just keeps permeating the society. And then all the support systems build around that. So the lawyers and the accountants and the bankers, and they all build to this place where they're trying to improve the system and trying to make it all work. And I think that there is some incredible value to a can-do spirit, a spirit where you look and you go, well, you know, I like this pen, I use this pen, but I think I could make a better pen. Or maybe, wait, maybe I don't really need to write. Maybe I should go speech to text. They start thinking, how do I make this better than it is today? And that spirit just keeps going. And if you're an entrepreneur and you come up with an idea, it's good. You just keep honing it. You test it against people. You keep honing it. And I think people in the Silicon Valley are much more open about their ideas. They just tell everybody, and they realize that an idea that's kept inside stays inside, and an idea that starts spreading becomes something of great value. Right. And getting that feedback and all of the thinking that people have in saying, look, that's how it works today. How can I make that better? And I think that that is the secret to the Silicon Valley. That's and great. all the other global Silicon Valleys out there that have been started in lots of different places are starting to get that, but a lot of them just started with like, hey, we're going to do an enterprise building, or we're going to have an area that's a free trade zone, or we're going to do whatever, instead of thinking, how do we change the spirit of the people to love the change, to live for the change? Because a lot of people they say, God, this works, so let me not change anything, because that way I'll continue to be fed and my family will be okay. And right. those people, you know, they don't make anything new happen, and they're afraid of the change. So if you can create a culture of change, a culture where everybody feels like I can change something, and I'm not going to be slapped down for it. There's good bankruptcy laws in the U.S. You can go, you don't go below zero. And it gives you this sort of feeling like, yeah, why don't we try this? It could work. And then, you know, at Draper University, we say, I will fail and fail again until I succeed. And right. That's the spirit of like, go ahead, try stuff, see how it goes.
Right, that's great. But you know what? You and I are both Stanford grads, and they're booing us at UCLA, USC, and LA Blockchain Summit right now because we think it's all about Silicon Valley. And I just want to give Joseph the opportunity to explain why you and he and Elon and I are all basing the Blockchain Venture Studio down in Southern California. So I agree with everything you said, Tim, but we're right. Stanford. Joseph, what's so special about Southern California and blockchain in Southern California?
I think it's not even just Southern California. You know, I think that there, you know, and with all due respect to Silicon Valley, I think there is nothing special about it geographically. It's an idea. It's a way of doing business. And I'm an immigrant entrepreneur. When I grew up in Austria, my first startups, when I would talk to someone about failing fast, not making money in the first few years, raising a lot of money from VCs, they were like, are you crazy? What is this? What are you talking about? They had no idea. Now, slowly, I can see the younger generations and everything is changing, and there are more opportunities. And Silicon Valley has really just become a mindset, an idea of how to start a business, how to scale a business, how to fund a business, and how to take it to the next level. And that's just slowly trickling down to the rest of the world. And I feel like, you know, COVID has probably accelerated this by a few years, where we now just are less and less reliant on someone's geographic location. You can Zoom into or dial into a call from anywhere in the world with an internet connection. And it's opening up the whole mindset and idea of Silicon Valley and how to launch companies, which is what I find really interesting and very exciting. So we just like the weather down here in Southern California, which is why we're, Alon is from here. So that makes a lot of sense for us. But we're also opening a presence now in Austria. I will spend more time there. I speak German, so it's a huge advantage for us as a fund. I can go after the great German-speaking startups at a very early stage. And I'll just be on WhatsApp and all the chats and all the different platforms that we use to communicate. And it's not going to make a real difference. So that's what's really exciting about this.
And thanks for sharing that. And at Blockchain Co-Investors, in fact, we're investors in the leading blockchain VCs in Asia, North America, and in Europe. And we have great VCs that we've backed in all of those places, including DGH. So we sit in the middle of this conversation. I definitely share Tim's views too, but I also recognize there's great innovation hubs emerging around the world. Now, Sid, in the book, you share some very interesting things about your journey, because you grew up in Tanzania. You had inspirational figures, including Nelson Mandela, but you decided to come to Silicon Valley. Just share a little bit about your personal journey and some of your learnings, please.
Yeah, sure. So there's a little bit of a paradox in me coming to Silicon Valley, because what I wanted to do was to start a fund in Africa for African entrepreneurs. And there weren't that many investors investing in VC. So coming from a zero base, I know nothing. How do I learn about this industry? I started talking to people in Silicon Valley, ended up talking to Tim as well about, the Draper Network coming to Africa. And there was an opportunity to join Tim's team to help to run the network. And I initially didn't want to do it because I wanted to build the fund in Africa. But my advisor said, no, move to Silicon Valley, because right now that's where your connections are. And 6 years ago, I moved to Silicon Valley, and within 3 weeks of being in Silicon Valley, I met more people investing in Africa than I had, in several years trying to do it from Dar es Salaam. And I could see the power of this, what Tim talks about, the spirit of Silicon Valley. Right. And in the time I've been here, I think I've seen more of this spirit go across the world. It's building across the world in ways that, much, much faster than I think we actually see from, the number of unicorns that are popping up. And I think over the next few years, we'll see more and more unicorns popping up from all over the world, Africa included. So this spirit of Silicon Valley is becoming a global spirit, which is very, very exciting.
Thanks, Sid. And maybe you can just say your last words around the question. We've got an entrepreneurial audience, blockchain entrepreneurs listening to us right now. What's the best advice that you've ever received and that you'd like to pass along to them about how to succeed in blockchain and technology in Silicon Valley?
I think it's the same everywhere in Silicon Valley or elsewhere in the world. We're always dealing with people, and giving first is a great, great philosophy. I think Silicon Valley lives by that. The people that do that tend to receive more. And this is enshrined in even old literature. It's more blessed to give than to receive. It's just true. It's the way us humans operate. So if you're starting a company, go figure out who you can serve. And that's where your opportunities will come from.
Thanks, Sid. Closing words from you, Joseph. If you could do the same thing, share the best advice you ever received on this same topic.
Yeah. What's the single most important one? You see, we live in a very fast-paced industry, right? Like overnight, every day, there are new projects in the DeFi space and in the blockchain space, and it's really hard to even keep track of everything that's going on. And everybody is very impatient. They want to build $1 billion company overnight and become super rich, and forget that overnight success takes 10 years. I mean, everybody can attest to that who's done it. So I think it's, my advice would be don't give up, and also give it time. People overestimate what they can do in a year, and they mostly underestimate what they can do in a decade. So just putting it in a little more of a perspective is healthy for you, for your personal life, and also for your business.
Thanks, Joseph. And I hear you channeling Steve Jobs too, which is, we underestimate the impact of technology in the short term, overestimate in the short term, underestimate in the long term. Tim, I want to give you the final word, slightly different question. If you could tell these technology entrepreneurs just one thing, what would it be?
I think it's just keep trying things. You're up, if you're an entrepreneur, you're up against companies that have hundreds of thousands of employees, and they're going to be doing all the incremental work. So when you start thinking about what you're doing, keep thinking, what's the world going to be like 15 years from now? And how do I get to that? And your path may look a little crazy part of the way through, but just kind of have it in your heart that that's where you're going, and stay with that, but keep adjusting as you go to try to get there. I've noticed some entrepreneurs listen a little too hard to their boards, when really they're the one who has the vision and the direction and the place that they're trying to go, and they're looking for experts to tell them what to do next. I think just believe in yourself. It's really interesting that the greatest companies in the world all had the entrepreneurs still with them 40 years later, 20, 30, 40 years later. Bill Gates stayed with Microsoft for 20, 30 years before he handed over the reins. The Apple computer went way up under Steve Jobs, and then it fell off when they lost their spiritual leader. And then when he came back, it came back with a vengeance. And now they're still drafting off of all the great work he did and all the vision that he had. The guys at Google, they're still there. They're still going. They're still driving it. Mark Zuckerberg and Sheryl Sandberg, they're still with Facebook from the beginning. They've been there the whole time. And Uber, when it lost its leader, it lost its way. So you are the one. You're the one to make it happen. So keep that in mind. I'm the one to make this happen. Don't rely too much on the advisors around you, but do rely on the people who work with you, but make sure that they're on board, because it's going to be a long, very circuitous route. They're going to have moments of doubt. You don't have moments of doubt.
Thanks, Tim. That's very inspirational. I know that Joseph, Sid, yourself, and myself all understand that the key players in this story are the entrepreneurs. They're few in number, and they're changing the world, and we're here to help them. LA Blockchain Summit is all about you and giving you resources to help you go further faster. Draper Goren Holm and the Blockchain Venture Studio are here to do the same. For my part, I'm very happy to be part of the team. The book, The Intelligent Investor, Silicon Valley, is available everywhere. 50 people like Tim, Joseph, and Sid have put their wisdom into that book to help entrepreneurs and investors get a fire hydrant of perspective, just like we did in the last 20 minutes. With that, I'm going to hand back to Joseph and Alon. Thank you for putting together such a great event.
Thank you so much, Matthew, and thank you guys for joining us. Thanks, Tim, Sid. Awesome.
Great.
Thank you,
Yeah,
guys.
this was great.